Hello and welcome to Charter Local Edition. Today we're in Carson City, Nevada, and we're talking to your state elected leaders about what they're working on for you. I'm Dana Cowley, and my guest is Democratic Assemblywoman Ellen.Spiegel. Ellen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate you, and you're having a successful year. You have 2 or 3 bills moving right forward, and we're getting toward the end of the session.
Absolutely. This has been a great session for me. I'm getting a lot done for my constituents, and I couldn't be happier.
And one thing you're doing is for giving a little extra boost to those nursing moms who are trying to work.
Absolutely. This is a bill that I've actually been working on since last session, and what it will do is require employers to give moms who are nursing breaks and a clean place to pump.
Very nice. You know, I remember, my girls are big now, but my girls are about a year apart, and I remember having a double breast pump and being able on my job to have the time to go and do that, but it would have been almost impossible. I would have had to either quit my job, cut back, if that wasn't available to me. So.
It makes a really big difference for our working moms, and you can't believe the stories that I've heard about places that people have to go to pump.
Oh.
I know of a woman who needed to pump in a parking lot garage because there was nowhere she could go. And she went into her car and brought a blanket and put it over herself.
I've done that one before.
I heard a story about a woman in a stairwell.
Oh.
Again, there was no place in her office to pump. Other people who were walked in on all the time.
Oh.
So
yeah, sometimes when you're using a ladies' lounge in the restroom and people are coming and going and you're huddled over in the corner with the blankets thrown over you. Yes.
Right. And during the hearing, we even had testimony of a woman who needed to pump in a janitor's supply closet.
Oh. Yes, and then you might worry about
the
chemical contamination.
Absolutely.
That would be unsafe.
So our babies and our moms deserve better.
And then you're also working on a bill that is consumer friendly. Tell us a little more about that, please.
Absolutely. So right now, when you go to, every year you have open enrollment for your health insurance. And when you're doing that, you pick what insurance plan you're going to have, and that includes what medications are on what's called a formulary, which is the list of medicines that you have and how much you pay for each tier that they're in. So sometimes you have a $10 copay, sometimes you might have a $25 copay, something that's more expensive could be $50, some of them go up to $150 or $250 even. And many times the insurance companies are able to change the drugs that are on the formulary and make them more expensive at various times during the year. Right now they can do it up to 4 times a year.
And that's a little challenging for folks because you can only select your medical coverage once a year.
Absolutely. So the consumer gets locked in and then there can be changes that you're locked into. And
then you're stuck maybe paying a much higher fee for the rest of the year until you can change it. And can you afford your medicine then?
Absolutely, and people are having problems. People are having challenges. So I have a bill that will make it so that individuals, if you're in an individual plan, so it's not through your employer, you just buy it yourself, it won't be able to change more than once a year. And that will coincide exactly with the year that you have your insurance. And then for people who are in small group employer plans, those are, if you work for a company that has 100 or fewer employees, then they'll only be able to change it twice a year as opposed to the 4 times a year. They'll still be able to do things like drop things down. So let's say a new generic drug comes into the market, something can drop down in price, new things can be added at any time. It's only if it's to the detriment of the patient. If you're going to have to spend more, then they're not going to be able to make that change. But
yes, I think a lot of consumers would like that to be a little more consistent, just so they can budget.
Absolutely.
You know, if you've got to have medicine and it's going to become much more costly unexpectedly, that throws off the whole year's planning.
It does, and and people are having hardships paying for their medication. Somebody came to me and said that she takes insulin that's very expensive, and some months she has to choose between insulin and paying rent.
Oh. That's
and we
those
don't
are stories we just don't want to hear.
We don't want to hear them at all.
No. Well, I have time for just one very small question. I see in your background that you've done a lot of volunteering for Easter Seals and March of Dimes, and why is that important to you?
Well, again, I think that we need to be doing everything we can for our kids, and those 2 organizations are focused on our kids.
Well, love kids too. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We wish you good luck this session as you proceed, and we thank you for watching. I'm Dana Cowley, and this is Charter Local Edition.